Hey Flockers, this is Sarah.
And this is Jenny, and you are listening to Naked with Socks, where we
assess the mess with finesse. Welcome back, you guys. As you can tell, we are totally ready for Halloween.
Halloween.
Happy Halloween, everyone. What are we? We're jesters, aren't we?
We're big jokers.
Yeah, you really can't take us too serious.
No, and actually we've been called that before. Like YouTube jokers. Like, okay.
And we've been called twins.
Yeah, all the time. So sisters, jokers, gestures.
If you need to be entertained by some...
What is happening with your hat here? It's perfect. Okay. This is what was left at Walmart, guys. So,
yeah, honestly, this wasn't...
Get what you get. We were going to do Devil and Angel, because that was, like, pretty appropriate, but obviously I'm the angel.
Obviously. Hey.
So,
okay.
Goes well with our theme tonight.
Yes.
What is our theme tonight,
Sarah? Our theme tonight is obviously Halloween, and we're going to talk about our experiences with Halloween. We have very different experiences.
Yeah, I feel like we should do a recap, too. We kind of touched base on it in the first season, like how we know each other and why our experiences were so different.
Yeah.
And maybe a little, like, recap.
We grew up very differently. Jenny had a more unconventional childhood and growing up.
Yeah.
Whereas I came from a very conservative Christian environment, home, all of that jazz.
California, West Coast.
And Florida, East Coast.
Meets together.
Comes together.
Becomes besties.
We become besties.
And the reason that we're talking about Judgement Houses... Oh, shit, I gave it away. God
That's okay.
damn
That's
it.
Okay. It's okay.
I don't know what they are. And so Sarah tried to explain it to me, and just my reactions, I was like, stop. This is an entire episode. I need to know. I want to hear it, and I also want you guys to hear it, but I want to experience it.
I definitely was having a hard time finding like articles talking about
what it is. Yeah. What are we talking about tonight?
Okay, so tonight we are talking about hell, or what they call judgment houses, hell houses or judgment houses, hell trauma and the religious abuse that comes with that. And yeah, we're just going to kind of dive into that. And if Jenny wants to say something or talk about an experience that she like thought about.
I reached out to my best friend today, and I was like, in California, and I was like, hey, I can't even remember, like, was I Jasmine for Halloween? Like, I don't remember one single experience, like, childhood memory. I don't know. Does anyone else experience this? Like, you just, like, blacked out your childhood? Like, I don't.
I've heard people say that.
Yeah. And I want to say it was like, oh, I was drunk. No, like, you just black out. Like, that's just, like, what happens when you just suppress memories.
Okay, shout out to Jenny's BFF in
Dana.
California, because she turned a light bulb on for Jenny.
She did. I had to text her today and be like, hey, can you please remind me of my childhood? Did I have fun? Did I, like, what was I? Could you tell me? She was great. Setting a whole list of things.
Okay, so we're going to talk about it.
Super inappropriate.
We're going to talk about that, and then we need that.
And then we're going to talk about Sarah's Halloween and how she never went trick-or-treating.
Or lack thereof. We'll get into it.
Don't get me started. So side note. We switched sides, if you didn't notice. We were like, ooh, yeah, that'll be fun. We'll switch it up because we're jokesters.
This is my bad side. I have this fucking hair that just wants to do whatever the fuck it wants to do right now. So.
I'm just over here living my best life. Yeah, but it's confusing because I keep like, I feel like my drink should be over here, but anyways.
We're all turning. Wait, we're joking ourselves here.
Here's what happened. We put our glittery, sparkly eyes on the wrong side, so we had to switch sides.
Mm-hmm. Jenny, what are we drinking today?
This brought to you by Sarah's amazing digging on TikTok, Instagram.
Mm-hmm. God, it's
Pinterest.
So fucking good. I want to literally just like down it.
Yeah. I put like another shot of Jameson in mine, and it's phenomenal. So the Judgy Jokester.
Judgy Jokester. Love the name. I wonder who came up with it.
Queen Sarah. Beans are. I picked the alcohol.
Yes, you did.
Because it was
You
a
picked good
mocktail,
one.
and then we turned it into a Flocktail.
Well, you can make it with either vodka or whiskey, but I just felt like whiskey would be better.
I'm more of like I'm a better whiskey drunk than vodka drunk. Fresh muddled blackberries.
Mm-hmm.
Mint. Mm-hmm. Muddled in with it. And then what'd you do? Put it in the blender?
I put it in the blender with a little bit of water.
Mm-hmm.
Then I put it into the shaker cup. And then we added what?
The
maple syrup.
Yes, maple syrup and
lime
2
juice.
ounces of Jameson or 4 ounces of Jameson, depending on how strong you like your drink. Shake it up. Tahine rim, which is there's the joke. Like, haha. Like, you're like, why? Like, she came out and she was like, because she sent me the reel. This is what we're gonna do, and I did not watch it. I'm gonna be honest. And I'm like, hey, how are we rimming this? She's like, comes out with a tahine cup, and I'm like, what the fuck? It's amazing. Blackberry, lime, and tahine.
Yeah.
So yeah, there it is. The Judgy.
So, I mean, honestly, I feel like this is probably one of my favorite drinks we've made.
I feel like you say that.
I know, but
the last mocktail we made that was not a mocktail.
Here's the thing. We are stepping up our cocktail game.
Yeah, we're going to have to start selling these recipes in a book.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
I agree.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Next on the episode of Would You Rather, Halloween edition. Sarah, you go first.
Okay. Would you rather spend an entire night in a coffin underground or spend a night in a haunted hotel?
Hotel. How haunted is the hotel?
I don't know.
Is this like a 13 Ghosts hotel? Because
if it's like fucking Amityville, I mean.
Can I take an Ambien before I get in the coffin? Or some Xanax? Can I get
take
really
all
drunk?
The drugs and get drunk before you go in?
Depends. The answer is depends. But definitely being in a coffin would not be fun.
The thought of being in a coffin and it's underground. You're buried alive.
What? There's like sand on top?
It says, would you rather spend an entire night in a coffin underground?
Oh, no. Because what are you going to do?
It gives me anxiety thinking about it on every level.
So we both say hotel.
I would just one night in a haunted hotel. I mean, if I can keep all the lights on.
And we can like hang out and drink.
Yeah, I couldn't do it by myself.
Yeah.
I would rather just be with someone and we just hold each other the whole night and then we get through it together. We'll get through this. But
then I think about like scary movies, which I do not watch very often.
We just watched what was it called? The Watcher, and that was freaky as fuck.
Okay, so
creepy and freaky.
Oh, never mind. Episode 5, I had to turn it off. I was like, Todd, no, I can't watch this. It's too scary. And he literally looked at me dead in the eye and was like, you watch fucking Dahmer and murder documentaries. How can you not watch this?
Yeah, but it's real, okay?
Because I know what's going to happen. He's going to go to jail. That's what.
He's not alive anymore.
I already know what happens. Like, that's not scary. But the horror, the suspense, the unknowing, no, absolutely not. Yeah. I can't even deal with that in real life. Why the fuck would I want to watch that on a TV show?
I watched. I had to. I fucking had to finish that.
The only reason I know what happened is because you put it on Instagram.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Everyone that I ruined the story for you, you're welcome.
I was like, oh, I don't have to watch the last
the thing is, if you know the real story, you know
I Googled it. I was like, I can't.
Yeah.
Which, anyways, it's a great show. But if you don't like scary stuff, I can't even watch that. People are like, oh, I'm watching scary Halloween movies. I'm like,
fuck that.
That sounds stupid. Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
yep, you're asking me now.
Oh, okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
This one's funny because Sarah just went to a haunted house.
I did.
And listening to her experience.
So bad.
This is going to be a good one. Okay. Would you rather go to a real haunted house or watch a horror movie marathon?
Horror movie marathon. I'm never doing that again. Fuck that shit.
Okay, where did you go?
I went to 13th floor here in Jacksonville, and
The drink is empty.
Well, you have to pace yourself.
Okay.
Now
I'm just really excited to talk about Judgement Houses.
Yeah. So anyways, I went to 13th floor in Jacksonville, and it was like, I know it's nothing.
She waited 2 hours in line.
Halloween Horror Nights or anything.
First of all, I was invited, but I told her to go fuck herself because it's not something that I would do. I'm fine.
I knew my best friend wanted to do that, and well, she likes scary stuff more than I do, and she liked Halloween Horror Nights, but like, it just didn't work out for us to go. So we were like, okay, we'll do the local 13th floor here. And I cried inside. I like sweat all over her sleeve. I swear to God, this guy was fucking following me, breathing on my neck. Blowing on my neck.
No, thank you. Absolutely not. My fight or flight mode would just go in and I'd just start beating the shit out of
I
her.
had a fucked up throat for like 5 days because I was screaming and so
crying.
hard. Yes. I don't think I've ever done that before.
And so you would rather do a horror movie marathon?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
I feel like I would just endure the haunted house. I don't think I could watch that many movies and be burned into my brain. So my problem is at night.
Yeah, you think about it.
And then people breaking into your house, and then there's like monsters, and then I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah,
at least I know
maybe I would do a haunted house again because it is over. It's over and it's done.
Yeah.
Okay, as whatever.
At least I know my house isn't haunted. But anyways, ta-da!
Jenny is going to break the ice and tell us a funny Halloween story that her friend Dana remembered.
Okay, so obviously we had very different experiences.
Yeah.
Sarah, you weren't allowed to trick-or-treat.
No, I wasn't. I never trick-or-treated.
Did you, at one point, like when you had kids and stuff, ever be like, I want to take my kids trick-or-treating?
Oh, I like vicariously still live through my kids.
Okay. I was like, we were talking because you were saying you needed a costume for you and Pat, and I was like, why would she dress up? Like, I'm like... And then I realized you're just like reliving your childhood and you needed to dress up, which is why we dressed up. Okay. But I was thinking back and I'm like, I don't know a single thing that I ever was. And I couldn't remember. And again, like, it's just like the blocking of memories that I have to get through. So, of course, you call on your best friend like, hey, what the fuck did we do for Halloween in high school? She's first... She started with the year BTS dressed up as different colored fairies. BTS was our friend group, and that stood for Bitches Talking Shit.
Okay.
So the BTS girls, not bad at all. We were all different colored fairies.
Cute.
Instantly when she said that, when I read it, I'm like, oh fuck. Memories come flashing back. I think I was a green fairy. But what we wore, she said, we literally wore bras, panties, the tulle skirts, and glitter. And that's what we wore. We walked around in bras, tulle skirts, and literally body glitter. And we called ourselves fairies, and every one of us had a different color. If you go
to a rave, I feel like that's what you're wearing.
She said, we dressed like we went to a nightclub, but for high schoolers. I feel like if I did acid and like psychedelics in high school, I'd be a lot different than I am now, but I never did any of that. I was actually like pretty good about it. My sister did. My sister was very experimental with drugs and all of that. But I was like very nervous to be addicted to things. Yeah. And I just stuck to pot and alcohol. And that's what I did every single day. Just like up or downer, up or downer, up or downer. Her other memory is just driving around in the egg. So I feel like I was like the second person to get my license in our friend group. I don't know how many of us are there. Maybe 8. There's like a big group of us. I was the first or second one to get my license, and we drove my car. It was called the Egg. It was like literally a yellow Aveo Chevy, and it was like the tiniest car, and anyone who knows what the Egg is knows. And I just remember making out in the back seat with Adrian Abundis. I'm not really sure.
Hold on, how old are you again?
We're in high school, so 16.
Okay, 16, okay.
Because I was driving.
Okay.
Another fun memory, I did crash the egg one time. Called my best friend's dad.
Okay.
Who basically was like my second father, my second home. They raised me because I was not going to call my dad and be like, hey, come get me. I'm wasted. And they paid for 2 new tires and got my car towed. And
that's some good people right there.
I love that family. Shout out to the Isaacs. Thank you for raising me, second family. Love you guys. So those are my Halloween stories.
Okay.
Like, I crashed cars and wore panties and bras.
And made out with boys in the backseat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember. I don't know if she made out with him or if I made out with him.
Oh, okay.
Somebody made out with Adrian.
Someone did it.
I feel like I should Facebook that now. Who is this person?
Who are you and did we do this?
Yeah, there's a lot of that in my childhood, so... Sarah, how was your childhood? Let's jump right into it. Because I tried to Google what a judgment house was. Yeah. And it's like Christian, or not Christian, like holy services and go to this house and you can have,
Yeah.
It was very nice. It made it seem very pretty. And I was like, I can't find any what is it? Like, I don't know what it is. So I keep asking you and then I'm like, don't tell me. Ask me, don't tell me. So I'm excited.
I'm going to spill
especially for
all
people
the tea.
Like me who don't know.
Yeah, I'll spill all the tea.
Who were raised like
Yeah, so I grew up never trick-or-treating. I was not allowed. We did not hand out candy. We kept the lights off. We didn't do any of it.
So when you went to school and people were like talking about Halloween and dressing up, what do you tell people?
I felt like I felt like I probably avoided the conversations. And then it just became known that
you don't do that.
I didn't do it.
Okay.
There were times as I became a teenager, I would get really frustrated because I was in Girl Scouts and I had girlfriends. I had one girlfriend that invited.
I was in Girl Scouts too. We talked about this.
Yeah. I had one girlfriend that for her birthday, which her birthday I think was on Halloween, they wanted to do Halloween Horror Nights and I wasn't allowed to go. So it was I got,
left out of a
lot of things. I couldn't go to fun parties, and when my girlfriends from Girl Scouts had a Halloween party, I wasn't allowed to go. So that's how I grew up. But
what is the reason for that? Is that part of the
a lot of Christian people
what is the belief?
Do not celebrate Halloween because it is a Wiccan,
the devil's
pagan holiday. But we're not going to go into if you just do your research.
I just needed that, yeah.
But yes, what the irony to me is Christmas is a pagan holiday as well, but it's what they take as to celebrate Christ's birth, basically. So, Google the history of a Christmas tree.
He was he was born on Christmas, or didn't he die on Christmas?
I don't know.
I don't fucking know.
Well, okay, so
we don't need to get into that.
That was just So growing up, we obviously didn't do all that. And a lot of churches do fall festivals where it's an alternative where kids can still dress up and do the trunk or treat, things like that. We still didn't do those. But I remember growing up, it wasn't I don't know if it was consistently, but we would go to these things called hell or judgment houses. And basically what it is...
Hold on, stop. Was it something you looked forward to, or something that... Okay, no. Just tell me what it is. Okay.
So...
I have so many questions.
These were specifically popular in, the Bible Belt, so the South. So you probably didn't have them around, and, maybe you did, but they probably weren't as frequent in California as they are around here. Mm-hmm. Because they... were popularized by a man named Jerry Falwell in the 1970s, which if you know of Liberty University, all of that stuff in Virginia,
That was on
he was the founder of Liberty University, but he kind of came up with this whole idea basically. And then it seriously took off in like the 90s and the early 2000s. So these are Halloween attractions for evangelical Christians. So basically, like I said, haunted houses. But instead of scaring audiences with ghouls and goblins, these extreme haunts use scenes of violence to push certain viewpoints and bring people into their congregation. So
you scare people?
You scare them. You scare them to fucking
to
death.
Find Jesus?
Yes. Okay. So
what?
I
just got the chills.
Yes. So evangelicals operating hell houses believe they're scaring audiences into turning their souls over to God by exposing what they consider modern sins. Hell houses take it to the limit, though, and many of them have put out extreme haunted houses. And I will say, not all Christians, because I'm not here attacking Christians, not all Christians believe this is like okay. It's very controversial, but it was big when I was a
because to me that makes no sense. It's the extreme. It's the opposite. You're not celebrating it because you're not you want to talk about the devil and you don't want to bring up like.
So basically,
you don't want to bring light to the devil or to hell.
You're pushing people towards Jesus by scaring them away from hell. They don't want to go to hell. So
it's like the psychological
backwards. You would give a scenario. So you'd walk through, they would put the entire church, whether it was a fellowship hall, whatever, and it was like you walk through it and you're following a story. You've got these people. It's very like I'm standing here, they're all here.
Do children and adults do this? Or is it like there's an age
I remember
cutoff?
teens did it. Like it was like one of my girlfriends did it. Like she loved acting in it because it was just the thing. So scenarios they would use. Now I want to say before I go any further, trigger warning. Because if this stuff triggers you, I understand if you don't want to listen anymore because it is very.
This stuff triggers people, and that's why we're talking about it. But also. Assessing the mess with finesse.
Yeah.
We're breaking it down.
So I am giving you that.
And we're exposing the trauma you went through.
Right.
So
scenarios they would use would be abortion, like a girl dying in an abortion. Like there's a picture right here
the fuck up.
of a girl having a botched abortion.
With this.
Okay. So that's
worse than a haunted house.
Like mass shootings, which one church, Trinity Church, Hell House, became one of the most notorious because in 1999, they recreated the Columbine shooting 6 months after it happened. They did a Judgment House that was Columbine theme.
God.
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with these people?
Another one, mass shootings, car crashes. I vividly remember car crash ones, like drunk driving and stuff like that.
Yeah, they did that in schools.
So you'd walk through, so it was like that.
They try and scare you out of not drinking and driving, but here they're trying to scare you out of.
So you'd walk through a scenario where you're seeing this kid like dead on the ground or something
and they
like
use
that.
like a fellow person that you know or like someone your age.
Yeah, they would do suicide.
God.
And they would do drug overdoses. So again, they would use like these modern sins or whatever you call it.
The extreme.
Like
if you drink alcohol, you will
die.
And you get in a car and
you go to hell. So it was like that's how that
church was the only savior. Like
their religion is basically because this is characteristic to evangelicals, the Judgment Houses. Basically, they'd put you through a scenario and they would have you watch people.
Not even a scenario that you can relate to.
Like you'd watch, like I remember there'd be like a scene that you'd walk through and it'd be like kids partying and doing drugs and like, shooting themselves up with something or something like that. And then the next scene would be like, they die somehow. Like a person would commit suicide or something, and you would. And
Is it like you're walking through rooms, or
yes,
someone is like it's like a tour guide,
almost like it's like a haunted house. Like you walk through these rooms, and so when the person dies or whatever, you go through a room where you're watching these demons come out of nowhere, and they're grabbing them, and they're no, I won't. I'm sorry, but and you're just watching this. I mean, so imagine being like my age,
traumatized, okay.
13, 12, maybe younger, 15, 16 even, watching these things. And you've been told since you were a child that hell is real and this is what happens if you don't believe. And so you watch these things and it's just like the trauma or the fight or flight, freeze, whatever it's doing to your brain as a young developing human being
to it, yeah,
is very harmful. So my friend, I actually reached out to her today because we grew up together, and she
I love that we both reached out to best friends
we
from high school today, which makes me laugh because we both experienced trauma at the same age in this Halloween time in our high school years.
Yeah.
And these are like vivid memories for you and for your friend.
Uh-huh.
Whereas like for me, it's blocked out of my brain. Yeah. And it's crazy how our bodies like hold the trauma and then how it comes out. But so we returned to our best friends. Yeah. So because I knew she would appreciate this subject because she took part of it in it. And, again, you grow up in it. You don't know any different. Mm-hmm. So she was telling me there was one year where they were doing, again, trigger warning. If you don't want to listen, suicide, all that, just leave. Okay. They were doing like a suicide scenario, and the person was hanging themselves. Okay. So the person that was acting was actually choking, was actually not okay. Like, so he had the rope like this, and he was like trying to get somebody's attention, like because he like wasn't able. Shut.
No, that really happened.
Did he die?
No, she didn't say he died, but it was like he could have died, and no one would have believed it, or no one would have thought he was, no one would have known he was actually
put in this situation
because he's acting in this like suicide hanging situation. It's just so fucked up on so many levels. Like it's just, and I get people act like acting is a thing.
Oh,
blah,
God,
blah,
my
blah.
eye switching. You just triggered my eye twitch. Is what you did. Like, oh my God.
So he was a teenager. It's just wild. So
the first time I tried to commit suicide, I was 15. And I tried to hang myself. Because that's just like, you don't know. You see it in the movies and you think that's how you're going to do it. And I do remember that vividly. And it's hard to do. And then yeah. Well,
I'm glad you're still here.
Yeah, I did it. Sorry. My eye is not twitching anymore. But I forgot. That was.
So it's sad to me that they're like putting across this message of
this is how you get help.
Of there's basically you're doomed to hell, people, and we know that if you are suicidal, if you have these certain problems, drug problems, addiction, things like that, it's something in your brain and you need help. And they're telling people that their only way to get help is by asking Jesus into their heart instead of addressing the problem for what it actually is.
So how does this end? So you're traumatized, you just come out of the house and you're like, please, Jesus, Lord,
so you go
save
through
me?
Yeah, you go through those like traumatic parts you're going through where people are being pulled in by demons. Hell.
That's worse than monsters, zombies, vampires.
Well, because the thing is, people believe that it's real.
Yeah, it is real. Those are real traumatic events that happen to people.
I'm saying they believe that hell is going to happen to people. Do you understand? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, this isn't just a horror movie. It's people believe they're going, that hell is real. So it's like they end it by you go into a room. Now it's cold. The room's cold and it feels nice.
Why is it cold?
It's glowing. It's light. There's not much in there. And you see like angels and things like that. And it's like you see Jesus. And maybe there was one person in the scenario that did believe in Jesus. And it's like they are accepted. Jesus would say, I know you, come in, blah, 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 things like that. That was another thing that I remember saying is if like people would see Jesus or whatever, and he would be like, I do not know you. And then they would go to hell. And it was like.
Right there? I do not know
Yeah, they
you?
would take him, they would take people away. I do remember that. So it was like, but it ended with you in this being like, okay, you'd have a decision today for your.
Oh my God.
And then they would use it as a ploy to get you to come to church. So think about
if you could see my jaw right now.
Yeah, and I'm sure they still happen. Oh, I'm sure they do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
that's probably the scariest haunted house I've ever. That's taking real life experiences and real life trauma and real life mental health issues and scaring the shit out of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's horrific. And not even like your own, like, yeah, people can be struggling with that, or someone they know has struggled with that. And then to use that as like, oh, they just went to hell.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not really, it's like putting a blanket over the actual issue and being like.
The only way you're not going to hell.
Everything's just very black and white. Okay?
Heaven and hell.
It's that way. And so this is a sort of brainwashing technique that can be traumatizing as a child and as a teen. I'm
traumatized for you.
I dealt with a lot of anxiety as a young child and as a girl. And I remember watching videos, even like movies, VHS, like recordings of like these, like watching them. And I remember at night, like I couldn't sleep. And that's why like I would ask Jesus into my heart every night. Because it was like, my thoughts are bad.
Bless her heart.
And it's so sad. It's like,
yes.
I wish people, and again, this isn't anything to go after my parents. It's just more of I wish that when I was growing up, I wish someone could have said, hey, that people need help with their mental health. I don't ever remember growing up and hearing anything about mental health. It was just like Jesus.
Heaven or hell.
Heaven or hell. You've got to obey. Your thoughts have all these things. So.
Okay, pause. Behavioral perspective. It gets under my skin when they're a bad kid. They have bad behaviors. Bad. Like you're saying, that black or white mentality.
I'm listening.
I redirect them. There are good choices and there are bad choices. And that is what I kind of push onto my kids. Not like, hey, you've been really bad today. You've been a real shithead. I call my kids assholes.
Yeah.
But was that a good choice or was that a bad choice? And then being able to reflect and being able to go into more detail and gray area and not just like, you're done.
Yeah, you're done.
You're done.
No, seriously, that's the thing is I was never taught gray growing up, like gray areas with certain situations and things like that where when I was...
Emotional coping.
Yeah, because it was like when I went through my own
Depression.
spiritual...
Yeah.
When I went through my own spiritual, like...
Awakening,
and I was breaking away from a lot of these really toxic and traumatic experiences that I went through growing up. I had to do a lot of research, and there is a thing called hell trauma. And it is people in like these very fundamental religious cults or religion or whatever religion it is, that they are traumatized by the teachings of hell that they've been
100%.
And because what it does to your brain, we'll link all these articles. I found a really good article, and it talks about how with your brain, it puts you into that for the rest of your life, and you don't even know it, right? You're telling these little kids, you know, you're going to go to hell if you do this, you do this, you do this. So it's constantly putting people in this like doom.
Good decision, bad decision.
Well, and it's like you're always like a pending doom feeling. Like there's always like whatever I'm doing.
They use fear to manipulate.
Yes.
Their motive.
So, and I'll just read a little bit, but it says, this article that we'll link, it says, in fundamental religions, believers in hell were taught to dread hell in early childhood, raised with a belief in eternal physical fire and psychological torture that felt as real as your belief in gravity. As the fundamentalist religious child learns to walk and talk, they learn to fear eternal torture by fire as a punishment for her less than perfect thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and actions. If it takes root, this all-pervasive, deeply ingrained fear can alter human psychology at fundamental levels, making basic cognitive processes and everyday decisions feel like a matter of life and death.
100%.
As the article went on, it talked about certain types of people are more vulnerable to debilitating fear of hell than others. People with sensitive, empathetic, or creative dispositions may be susceptible to higher levels of fear and more vivid fantasies fantasies of torture. Those who are predisposed to mental health challenges or who are actively experiencing psychiatric disorders are also liable to suffer more intensely. Mm-hmm. Moreover, non-neurotic individuals who simply take their religion seriously and earnestly apply themselves to religious practice and may take doctrines of hell to heart and suffer more intensely than others who are less devoted.
That's like me and you. They just described me and you.
Yeah. So I grew up going all in what I believed. And so I do see myself, and I know from I've taken professional personality tests, all those things. I am an empath. So it makes sense to me why all of these, it took quite some time for me to heal and go to therapy and like grow and out of that.
So your anxiety manifested different than my anxiety.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So our coping with that was different. My coping with dealing with my trauma and what I was going through in my childhood was drinking, smoking, impulsive behaviors, mm-hmm. etc. Yours was different. You took my mentality was like, fuck it. So church didn't make sense to me. Like I've always been a very analytical thinker. And if I don't understand it, I'm like, fuck it. Yeah. Or I'm gonna drink or I'm gonna smoke and it just doesn't matter. Who cares?
Yeah.
Where I felt like you had that more dialed in, like, I have to fix myself. Everything has to be perfect. And that's kind of how you're that's how you controlled your life, mm-hmm. is by making more strict.
Yeah, I mean, that's why
putting more pressure on yourself. You felt the pressure of having to be
the
more
eating
perfect.
Disorders. All of that. Yeah, that
where
was
mine
was
was
myself.
Yes. So when I found psychology, mm-hmm. and I remember going to school and I started learning about serial killers and abnormal psychology and all this stuff, it clicked. It made sense to me. Then it was like, well, fuck, I don't have any coping skills. I have coping skills, but they're not healthy coping skills. Yeah. Like, did you have that same aha moment where you realized once you were out of your situation and once you you're like that looking down and you're like, oh, fuck, like I need to mental health, like we need to fix not ourselves, but change our way of thinking, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely reached out for therapy.
I did therapy.
Because I needed to talk to someone, because at first I felt like I was crazy. So I needed to talk to someone.
We all felt like that. And I was get crazy. So it's the same. Whether you're diagnosed crazy or you feel like you're crazy.
But coping, I definitely dealt with, I had some bad habits because, again, I was trying to please everyone. I was trying to be perfect all the time.
What were your bad habits?
I mean, I would drink for sure. There were a few times I'd black out and I wouldn't remember, but I was working out. I was overdoing it, which isn't healthy.
No.
And I wasn't.
We had really unhealthy coping mechanisms.
Yeah, so I did realize, hey, I need to go talk to someone. I need to...
mental health, self-care.
Take some space from people for a while, and figure out what the fuck I need to do with my life. So that I'm not living this... So, I mean,
When you're a kid, you don't know.
No.
You do.
No.
You can't do what you don't know.
Right.
And when you're growing up, you don't know a life outside of... It wasn't until I was in, high school where I was going over to my friends' houses who had gated communities and cars and this, and I'm walking in, I'm like, what the fuck is this? What's a dinner table? Things that were just mind-blowing that were healthy in other families that I had never known before. So you can't do what you don't know. And then you see that, and then you get even more depressed. And you're like, fuck. Just like when you come out of that religious experience and you realize there's a life outside of heaven and hell, there's other options in life, not just you're going to die or you're going to go to heaven.
That was something else you made me think of.
That you have that aha moment, or you have there's more to life than just what you were raised. And that's why they say question everything. And that's why... Same thing, when my daughter was born, I got pregnant when I was 17 years old. Had my daughter when I was 18. My daughter's father, his whole family's Mormon. So they pushed the very religious, you guys need to get married. She needs to be baptized. Da, da, da. And I'm thinking, she's a baby. Mm-hmm. She doesn't know about heaven and hell and religion. And why would I force a choice onto a baby? And that was kind of my argument with everything is until she's old enough to make that decision for herself, which to this day is still, girl, do what
her
you
choice.
Do you.
Her
it's
choice.
Her choice.
Yeah. So the end of the article talks about how people do leave that mindset of they don't believe in a literal hell anymore. And, clients that have seen psychologists and therapists, they cease believing in hell intellectually. Intellectually, they realize, okay, they may still find themselves drawn back to old fears, because you have to think about how imprinted in their head
from a child. Yeah.
And so they may continue to suffer PTSD, like nightmares and intrusive flash images of hell. They should be reminded that they are dealing with years of conditioning that does not usually go away overnight. Moreover, it often takes time for our emotional and neural patterns to catch up with our realizations. Any improvement should be celebrated. However, clients may also lose sight of their realizations and still have a sway to those old ways, but it just
old thinking. Yeah,
it's a pattern. Takes time. It takes time.
And everyone says self-care, but what is that? We have to define that, and it's different for every single person.
Right.
Your self-care looks different than my self-care, and I think that's the main thing. Going to therapy is just a good way to
It's the self-awareness. Again, it's a self-awareness of...
we need a t-shirt that's just self-aware.
It says, because it says clients can retrain their brains by cultivating self-awareness of their thoughts and emotions and learning to recognize when they are experiencing amygdala hijack, which is a part of the brain that's triggered by fear. So... this is an actual article, scientific, like this is,
We got our data and our research.
And research. But I think the biggest thing that we wanted to get across with this subject is that you, of course, are allowed to believe what you want. And I am 1000% all for that. But again, this is my experience. And this is something that I've had to recover from as a almost 34-year-old adult, still recovering from. I am not attacking anyone's belief system or what they do believe, but for me, I had to go through some self-awareness and realize that people that do deal with hell trauma, it is a real thing. And if you are someone that is dealing with that and you are scared out of your fucking mind, you can reach out to a therapist, a psychologist, someone that can help you through this. You don't have to do it alone. Yeah.
And everyone's therapy looks different.
Yeah.
I've done therapy and that helped. I've done working out, that helped.
Yeah.
Tried cutting, there's different modes to healing. And one thing that I feel like also is we start feeling sad or we start feeling depressed or we start, failing in our marriages or whatever it is, and you go to the doctor and they throw medicine at you or they throw a pill at you or they throw like something at you. And so there are other ways like yoga, and we've been talking about sound healing and things like that are also topics that we want to talk about in future episodes, that there are just alternative ways. And that kind of wraps into our season 2 and what we're talking about and how you can get help and things that we've tried.
Because again, we are going towards mental health. So this is how we tie in the mental health aspect, because this is something that more than likely a lot of people and people you may know have dealt with.
Well, and you don't even know that they're dealing with it. Like, you didn't even know at that time that was your trauma. I didn't know in high school what I was going through was trauma.
No, because it took that self-actualization. It took coming out of the situation itself.
Well, just like raising kids, you want to put your beliefs and you want to install, you want to raise good humans, but at the same time, they need to make decisions for themselves. They need to come out of it. They need to be able to. So it's all a learning process. What do we say? The only constant is change.
The only constant is change.
And look at us just being our best selves. I'm excited I learned about this shit because I made her not tell me for so long, just so I could have a genuine reaction on the episode.
Thank you guys for listening. This was a heavy topic. And we are so glad Jenny brought some fun, funness to the episode.
I was bringing the fun. But that's like those memes we send each other, like, oh yeah, my trauma made me super fucking funny. So that's why we're jokesters. We have so much fun.
We are jokesters, guys. Okay.
We will always assess our messes with finesse. And I don't even know if this is finesse.
With rhinestones on our face. And
we do what we can. So
fucking stupid hats on.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next episode.
Yes. Once again, thank you for listening today. And we hope you felt inspired or educated by our stories in one way or another.
We're definitely going to link all of Sarah's amazing resources.
We want to get to know you guys. So if you go to the link in our bio on our Instagram and give us a topic, we will talk about it.
Yeah. Or if you're having any issues with therapy or
we can
religion, we definitely need to put links in there.
Yeah,
you were triggering me during that thing. Like, oh, we need to do this. We need to do this. So we'll have all those resources available for you as soon as possible. Thank you.
This is Naked with Socks, a podcast where we
assess the mess with finesse.
Cheers.
Cheers.